it is I, Tantus Naraban Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome! It is time to continue our discussion on Shadowrun. We were talking about vehicles and vehicle combat last time. I'm going to continue talking about that. I'm going to bring in tactical combat and chase combat. Let's talk about tactical vehicle combat in Shadowrun. So tactical vehicle combat is handled like any other combat. It has the same sort of initiative, it has all the same basics. You roll initiative, you treat it as just normal combat, except there are vehicles involved. So when you're controlling a vehicle during combat, it's effectively just normal combat, there's a vehicle in it. When you're controlling a vehicle during that time, you need at least one complex action to control it before the end of a combat turn. That means on one of your initiative passes, you have to at least use one complex action to control the vehicle. If you do not, you lose control of the vehicle. Anybody in the vehicle, any character, would get a -2 to all dice pool checks until the end of your next turn, when it would see if you regain control of the vehicle. If you do not regain control of your vehicle in the next turn, it crashes. So you really only have one turn of not controlling the vehicle, and even in that point in time, anybody in the vehicle gets a penalty because it's kind of careening out of control. Now that's a vehicle test to regain control of that. Now most devices in your vehicle are going to either use a complex action to control something like sensors, or it will list the type of action that it's going to be. There are times when you're like, if you're rigging and you're full VR into a vehicle, it might be an easier action to control one of the devices rather than if you're doing it manually as a person, a flesh and blood person. Now, the types of actions you can take in a vehicle are given as a list in the book. It will tell you what type of action it is, what the action itself is, and give a little basic information. The only one I really want to mention, other than the control the vehicle one, which is a complex action, is the ramming action. The ramming action is the melee attack you can make with your car. Now, whoever is the attacker or the driver rolls your driving skill plus your reaction plus your handling of the vehicle. The person that you're trying to hit, if they're pedestrian, they would roll their reaction plus their dodge, or if they're another vehicle, it would be their reaction plus their driving skill plus or minus their handle. You have to be making at least a walk or run movement with the car. If you're making a run movement, you have -3 to your test to hit them. So yes, you're going faster, but it's easier for them to get out of the way effectively. So when you successfully hit them, the amount of damage your vehicle does depends on the speed it's traveling at the time that it makes this action and the body of your vehicle. Bigger, tougher vehicles do more damage. There's a chart in the book that tells you what kind of speed it is and what kind of percentage of your body damage you're dealing to it. So it'll either be like half your body, or double your body, depending on how fast you're really traveling. Now, your vehicle also takes half the amount of damage, rounded down, that you'd be dealing to whatever the target. Now, if it's a pedestrian or a character that's been hit by the vehicle, they resist the damage from ramming with half their impact armor rounded down. So they only get half their impact armor to resist getting hit by a car. Now, if you're hitting, whether or not you're hitting a car or hitting a person, the driver, the rammer, has to make a driving test to threshold 2 to successfully see that they remain control and don't crash as a result of this ramming action. If you're ramming another vehicle, the rammed vehicle's controller has to make a driving test also, threshold 3, to see if they don't crash and lose control because of this ramming action. So let's talk about chase combat, which is much more abstract, and it's all about positioning and speed and movement. It has its own set of initiative actions. So each chase turn is 1 minute or 20 combat turns. It's going to have initiative passes, just like any other turn, except the initiative passes are going to be broken apart amongst that minute. It's going to be the chase turn, and you'll have your initiative passes within that chase turn. It's just, you're going to consider it being an entire minute going by per chase turn. So the first thing everyone's going to do on a chase combat turn is any drivers that are going on for each vehicle is going to make a vehicle test. Whoever gets the highest number of successes is effectively controlling it and can choose the chase distance that's occurring. I'll talk about chase distance in a second, but it's effectively the distance of engagement that's going on in this combat, and that affects anybody that's below them. So it kind of goes down the list that people can choose how close they are to other people down the list. So if I'm at the top, I can choose that I can have blank engagement, while everybody then below me, if there's like 3 groups, then the next one down can choose how they're engaging the one below them, but they already know how they're engaging the one above them, because the one above them chose it. So that's effectively how it works. Is maybe I'll be at long range from the 2 people below me, but the 2 of them might be close together if there's 3 people, or they could just choose to be close together if they are 2 allies working together and they want to be close together in this situation. If there is ever a tie, you first look to the driver's edges, then to their reactions, and then to the handling to see who goes first in these. There should be no problem going down that list, figuring out who actually has control in this situation. Now let's talk about those engagement ranges, because this is where it comes up. There are 3 types of engagement range. There's close engagement, which effectively your cars are side by side, really close together, maybe you're right behind each other. You're really at short range to each other. You're like getting up right next to each other. There's short range. Short range would be considered medium range for a weapon, but that's about how distance it is. You have a little bit of distance between the two of you, but you're close enough that people could sort of shoot at each other still. This would maybe be like a shooting car chase kind of situation. And then there's long range, which is the tailing or like tailing end distance that maybe you're either trying to keep back and keep out of sight, or someone is trying to get very far away from you and is about to try to get away and disengage from you and escape for this chase scene. Now this would be long range for any kind of ranged weapon that you're firing out of. It's going to be considered long range automatically for any kind of guns, firearms, shooting out of. After that, initiative is rolled for all characters. Of course, vehicles act on their controller's initiative. Anybody else that's being involved in it would roll their initiative. Then everyone either declares their actions, or anybody controlling a vehicle would declare what kind of stunt that vehicle is doing. I'll explain stunts in a minute. After that, things are resolved. They're resolved in order, of course, from highest initiative to lowest initiative, with the vehicles acting on their controller's turns. Then subsequent initiative passes occur if people have more than one initiative pass, and finally the chase turn ends. So effectively, whatever distances are made at the beginning of the turn stay for all the initiative passes. So regardless of whatever actions you can take on your turn with your vehicle, or if you're controlling a vehicle, you actually have to stay at a certain distance because of it, and you're not changing that distance until the next chase turn. Chase combat continues until either opposing vehicles are destroyed, crash, or break off pursuit, or escape from you if you're the ones chasing after them. Any of those situations where things are disengaged, then the chase combat ends. So there are 4 main stunts listed in the book that you can use with your car. The first off is the break off. You can only break off when you're at long range. What break off does is I'm trying to break off pursuit and escape from the combat. I'm effectively trying to escape with my vehicle. I'm far enough away that I think I can like go around a corner that they're not going to notice where I'm going, that I can break off pursuit. You'll be making your vehicle text to escape. Next is the cutoff. You make the cutoff at close range. Cutoff means you're sort of cutting off someone and attempting to force them into crash. You're making a check in order to make someone make a vehicle check to avoid crashing. You're effectively, messing with their car and making it that they're trying to lose control. Next is the maneuver. The maneuver you're going to use in order to gain a better positioning. When you make a maneuver check on your turn, you effectively are gaining a bonus on the next chase combat turn in order to gain to the initial vehicle test in order to see who has control of the chase for that turn. So you use the maneuver action to kind of rile yourself into a position where you're better off the next round. And the last one you can do is, of course, a ram. It works just the same as in the combat version, the tactical combat version of vehicle combat, as the same here. You can ram someone just the same. Noting here that you do not have to make complex actions to control the vehicle during the chase combat, because it's going to be assumed in the course of that 20 combat rounds, you can take the necessary actions to control it during that time. So combat then, of course, continues through everybody's initiatives, through any kind of maneuvers, for any characters that are individuals doing actions like shooting out of a car or anything like that, until the end of the turn when and then through all the initiative passes, and then, of course, the chase continues. So that's it for today. I went over tactical vehicle combat and chase vehicle combat and the basics of them. Next time, I'm going to finish up talking about vehicles, with damaging vehicles and a number of other information about vehicles, which will finish up the combat section, and we'll move on to talking about magic. If you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, show your support for the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. And until the next time, I bid you farewell.